What is up, everyone, and welcome back to Across the Board, sponsored by MoneyBall Metrics. We have an interesting day today. It's Tuesday. You guys are not used to seeing us on Tuesday, but we are here. We did have a big plan yesterday to come on and break down all the live free agency signings as they happened. But unfortunately, Elon and the Twitter world /X/Bluebird, whatever the hell you call the app, didn't feel like working yesterday. So we decided to come on today, break down a little NFL free agency, and we had to get one of the best in the business, one of the best NFL minds out there. Monotone, we are pumped to have you on, brother. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the invitation. Obviously, we had some fun during the NFL season, picking some winners here. So I appreciate the invitation back. And yeah, as you can see by the hat, I'm a DC guy. So the offseason's been going great for me. I'm excited to talk about it a little bit.
Hell yeah, man. We have a lot to talk about, especially a team in your neck of the woods that's making what I think some fantastic moves. JD, over to you. I know this is normally a pretty boring time of the year for you because you are a Cowboys fan. So unfortunately, the Cowboys don't do free agents. How are you today?
Good, man. Doing actually really well. It's definitely nice to come here during March with all the madness and everything going on and to be able to talk a little football, man.
Right? It's weird. Football's turning into a 365 sport. I know people have always said that. It's a sport that you can follow the entire year, but it seems like now there's so many activities, so many different events, so many big moments that are happening in the offseason that football's really turning into a 365 sport. It's fun to see. It's fun to dive into everything. So, guys, it's a little bit of a different approach from us today. We're not going to be breaking down any games. We're just here to talk NFL free agents, talk what's going on around the world of the NFL. And Monotone, I'm going to kick it over to you. The Washington Commanders, if everyone can't tell by the hat, if everyone can't tell by seeing you a million times, anyone who's in here has probably seen you on a show before, knows how passionate you are about the NFL, knows how much knowledge you have, especially about the Washington Commanders. So do you want to break down a few of their signings, what you like about their signings, what you think the team still needs to do? And let me tell you something. As a fan of the New York Giants, who's in the same conference, same division, as your Washington Commanders, I don't want to play you guys next year. I don't want to see you guys twice a year going forward. Break it down. What do you think of free agency so far?
No, I know that's something we haven't heard in a while, so it feels good. Every year we've had all this cap space, and it's like, okay, who do you want to surround Dwayne Haskins with? And it hasn't ever turned out very well. So thankfully now, it's the quarterback. He's kind of like the North Star, and everything kind of falls around him. And last year, the roster was solid, but it was clearly a team that could use a lot of upgrades. And I want to start with a trade before we go into anything, because Deebo Samuel was a big talking point. And I think a lot of people were incredibly negative about Deebo Samuel because you saw the 5th-round pick, and that's nothing. And so I think people were almost digging for reasons to hate this trade, right? Because I saw so much, Deebo's past his prime, he's washed, you got to pay him $17 million a year. And my whole thought process, well, let's look who's available right now. Every single guy that's worth something is over 30 years old and injury prone.
Yeah.
So you're either paying Devontae Adams, $22 million a year. You're playing Chris Godwin, who's probably the best available. We were having to compete with the Patriots, who were willing to pay that guy like $90 million a year. It looks like he took a little bit of team happy deal and stayed with Tampa Bay. But like all these alternative options that Washington was getting dragged for not, signing are all like $10 million more expensive than Deebo. So I get that he may not be in his prime. I get that he may not be, the fastest guy in the world. He might not break 5 tackles in a single run anymore. But adding a guy like that who's such a threat around the line of scrimmage, if you guys watched Washington all last year, they completed more screen passes and more passes at 5 yards or less than any other team in football, right? It was screen city, and that was really smart to get Jane Daniels kind of acclimated. You set up the deep ball. So now you got one of the best guys down the field, right? You got Terry McLaurin, who can stretch the field. He's a deep ball guy. And then you got Deebo Samuel, who can bully you at the line of scrimmage. So to me, that sets up kind of like an interesting chess game, right? Of like, okay, if your safeties and linebackers are respecting Deebo too much, then you burn him with Terry. And if they're respecting Terry too much, all right, we'll take those 5-yard passes all day long. So I really like the Deebo signing. I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts on that one, because I was seeing a lot of negative stuff.
I'll jump in here first, JD, about Deebo trade. Anyone who's saying it's a negative trade doesn't know ball. For what the Washington Commanders offense does, for how they can utilize Deebo Samuel. As you said, in the short screen game, giving him the ball out of the backfield as well. He takes carries too. He is a Swiss Army knife for a team that needed a Swiss Army knife. I think he's the perfect addition to that team, and you said it perfectly. I have a list here of the remaining wide receiver free agents that are still on the market here. Who do people think that the Commanders should have signed over trading for Deebo Samuel? Is it Stephon Diggs off a blown knee at 31 years old, going to be 32 by opening day? I don't think so. Keenan Allen, entering his 13th year in the league, will be 33 years old at the start of the season and had a terrible drop problem last year with Chicago? I don't think so. Amari Cooper, who we saw get traded to one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL in Buffalo. He was a non-factor for them. Brandon Cooks, going to be 32. He's kind of fallen off. Deontay Johnson, I don't need to go into detail about why that would be a mistake with Deontay Johnson. So for me, I thought it was the best move that Washington could have made. There were guys like Darius Slayton that were available. He did return to the Giants, so I thought that was a good deal. But the wide receiver market was very short this year. If you looked at this wide receiver market and pictured all of them maybe back in 2016, 2017, this would be the greatest free agent wide receiver market in history. A lot of big names, a lot of guys that have done a ton in their career, but they're not doing it anymore in their career. So I thought it was a perfect addition. JD, what do you think?
Yeah, man. Like, I'm going to keep this one short here. I absolutely love that extra trade. And I think that this offense is going to be fun to like watch. I mean, just plain fun. I think that this offense is going to be able to do some really cool things, man.
Absolutely.
You brought up Slayton there. You like that signing? Because I do like Slayton. I actually think he's an underrated player. But what is he making, $11 million a year or something like that now? Is that
12,
what it is?
12. 12. But people, I've seen a lot about that. And people are saying, oh, it's way too much money. De'Ami Brown just got $10.5 million. That's the market for a wide receiver 2/3, a little combo. So he's somebody that the Giants really held high because he's really good for Malik Neighbors' development. Him and Malik Neighbors had a very special bond this year. He helped Neighbors with lining up in the offensive sets because he was a little confused as the year went on. And Neighbors credited a lot of his success to Darius Slayton. So for me, I thought it was a fantastic move for the Giants. I don't think it was a fantastic move for Darius Slayton. I think he could have went to a team with stable quarterback play towards the end of his career. Maybe for once in his career, he'd be able to have some stable quarterback play and be on a very talented offense. But he's decided to stay on the Giants. He's the longest tenured Giant, and I'm very happy he returned.
No, that's fair. You nailed it, actually. My thought process is like, why are you going back? Everyone needs a wide receiver right now. Like, see what the Bills are offering. I mean, the Bills paid Josh Palmer an even bigger contract, and I did not like that at all. Like, if you gave me Slayton or Palmer 1-to-1, I think it's really easy for Slayton right there. So I was kind of shocked that he chose the Giants right there. But I agree, and I didn't actually know that about Neighbors. But that's the kind of the things that people don't know that really do matter a lot in football.
100%. So a couple other names that went to your Commanders that I think are going to have some big impacts. A guy like Javon Kinlaw reuniting with his old defensive coordinator and old coaching team. What do you think about Kinlaw going to Washington? I think that was a very good signing for you guys.
I like Kinlaw a lot.
A little pricey, though. A little pricey.
Well, it's interesting. That's the thing about all these signings. If it's like, well, I probably would have preferred we cut like $5 million off this, maybe $8 million off this, but at the end of the day, it's not my money, and we've got more cap space than anyone else in the league. So if that's what it takes, it's what it takes. The problem is Kinlaw hasn't actually been very good over his last 2 years. He's kind of been like he's a really big edge, and he's not a great run defender, and they're kind of putting him in the middle a lot. I think what Washington's going to do is they're going to kick him outside a little bit more. I think they're going to use him pretty creatively. Like, Dan Quinn has been awesome. Like, that guy is when you think about like Dan Campbell, it's very similar. Like, he's got these guys in line and fired up and ready to go. And even though the defense last year was really suboptimal, they were still a middle of the pack defense. So now you add some legit guys that, like, Kinlaw's huge. Like, nobody wants to deal with that guy down there. I think they probably need one more depth piece. You know, I think that would be ideal. They were big in the Myles Garrett trade talks before he signed for $1 billion a year. And now Trey Hendrickson is a guy that's still on the trade block. So for me, I do like the Kinlaw signing. I'm very concerned about the run defense. Washington definitely needs a defensive tackle in there to bolster it up, because when they went head-to-head with the Eagles, I mean, they were getting bullied, and that's really what you got to look at in this modern NFL, especially if you have to play the Eagles a couple times a year. You got to bolster up that offensive line and the defensive line if you want to compete. They did a great job with Tunsil, obviously. Amazing trade, not having to give
What a move.
for one of the best. I mean, I've watched Tunsil his whole career. I used to watch the Texans all the time because I was a big Deshaun Watson guy before, everything happened there.
Tough to admit that nowadays, right?
Yeah, but it is what it is. I'm a Clemson guy, so it is what it is.
That's fair. That's fair.
but yeah, I mean, when you look at Tunsil, like the guy's arguably the best pass blocking offensive lineman in the league. He just cancels it out by like a false start per drive, which is a little bit annoying if you watch the guy. It's kind of brutal at times, but like compared to what we have this year, rookie Brandon Coleman out there, like a 4th or 5th round guy, just grinding every week. Going to Tunsil from that is like insanely huge. And then not getting to keep our first. Because when I first saw the notification, I kind of went, all right, there goes the first this year. And as a mock draft guy, that makes me sad. You love the first. You love to speculate the amazing talent you can get. So being able to hold on to that and still get Tunsil, for me, that was amazing.
I agree. One last question on your Commanders, because you did bring it up. You did lose Jonathan Allen, which is a piece that is going to be a big loss for that team. He signed a massive deal. I believe he's getting like $20 million a year on his new contract with the Minnesota Vikings. So I know you said you wanted some extra defensive tackle depth, some D-line depth. Anybody you want the Commanders to sign to kind of fill that void? Because I do think that is a big loss for the team.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Allen go was sad. He's been a beast here for a long time. When I'm looking around, I really wanted, I believe he was the run stuffer that went down to the Rams. I forget what his name was. That was the guy I was really hoping they'd go after. It's not a very huge market. I don't really know interior defensive linemen, like the best of them, I think when I was looking at the list yesterday, it was pretty thin. So my strategy would honestly be literally sign 3 guys, 2 or 3 of these replacement level. We just need bodies and we need depth. And last year, Washington by size was the smallest defensive line in football. So I just want some big bodies. Honestly, if you can defend the run, come over to DC. We'll take you. So, or the draft. The draft is probably more likely. I bet a 2nd or a 3rd round pick.
That's what I was going to go with.
To interior defensive line,
That was the next thing I was going to say here. That could definitely be addressed in the draft. You can get a big body in there, a run stuffer, somebody who kind of eats up a big portion of that interior of the defensive line. So I definitely agree with you there. I think they could definitely fill that void in free agency. JD, is there any other pieces you would like to see Washington add before we move on to another team and talk about some other free agents that are currently out there?
I think Stu actually covered it well. Really, actually, as far as the defense, as far as actually run goes, man, just actually trying to stop that. Like I said, nobody really certain actually comes to mind. But
I definitely understand. They've made so many moves already that right now I do think their best approach to improve is going to be through the draft. I think the bulk of their big moves has already been done. So we'll see where the Commanders go from there. But we do have a little breaking news, guys. The Chiefs have just made a pretty big signing. They have signed Christian Fulton, the cornerback, formerly with the Chargers, to a 2-year deal worth $20 million, includes $15 million guaranteed. If you watch the Super Bowl or you watch this defense this year, you kind of knew they needed one more cornerback piece. So that's the breaking news we have right now as of 1 minute ago from Adam Schefter. Christian Fulton has signed a 2-year deal with the Chiefs. So one of the better cornerbacks remaining on the market has been taken off the market. So I do think that was a good move from the Chiefs there. All right, fellas, let's shift the conversation just a little bit. Let's look at the remaining free agents, specifically at the quarterback position. Stu, I know we spoke a little bit earlier. It's a brutal year to be a guy who's a fan of a team who's looking for a new quarterback. I mean, as we said earlier, the Indianapolis Colts just signed Daniel Jones, who, by the way, Indiana Jones. I mean, come on, you can kind of do that now that he's in Indianapolis. So Indiana Jones out there with the Colts got $14 million guaranteed. And I do think he will compete with AR for the starting job. I do think we will see by midseason Danny Dimes take over the realm there because AR just can't avoid injuries. He just doesn't perform at the top of his ability. So I do think we will see Daniel Jones get some looks there in Indianapolis. But to the remaining quarterbacks we have left, there's 2 guys, just 2. And it seems like there's 2 teams fighting for both of these guys. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Stu, I'm going to go back over to you. Where do you see Aaron Rodgers going? Because I think we all know how the scenario is going to play out. Whichever one of the Steelers or the Giants is able to get Aaron Rodgers, the loser is going to get Russell Wilson. It does seem like those two quarterbacks are going to go to those two teams, but we don't know which is going to go where yet. Where do you think the best fit is going to be?
Yeah, it's funny if you said this, 8 years ago, people would be thinking these guys are in great positions, like two arguable Hall of Famers on the way. Like, oh my God. And now it's like, kind of the laughing stock of the league here. The thing is, Aaron Rodgers, he should go to the Steelers. He should. They just traded for DK Metcalf. They've got George Pickens there. He absolutely should go to the Steelers. Like, it's really not even a debate. The problem is the guy's a nutcase. And I don't think he wants to deal with Mike Tomlin. Like, Mike Tomlin is the crazy tamer. He had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown on the same team and had him performing at Hall of Fame levels before the whole world realized that those guys were insane. Like, this is the guy that is truly like the crazy guy tamer. He's magic with that. And I don't know if Aaron Rodgers wants to deal with someone else like that in the room. I think Aaron Rodgers for the last 5 years has been the coach, GM, and God of his own life and everything going on. And I don't know if he wants to mess with that with Mike Tomlin, who, I mean, you go say one crazy thing on Pat McAfee, and I don't know if Tomlin lets you back in the building. So to me, I think that's the Giants in, the Giants, no offense, probably lay down and go, yeah, you can do whatever you want, Jet style. I'm sure that it obviously works so well for the Jets. I'm sure it'll work well here. For me, if I were you guys, I'd just go sign Marcus Mariota, draft a quarterback, and pray for the best. I think that's a way better trade. Give up a couple wins. It's just the Justin Fields path, but instead of paying $20 million, Mariota probably cost you $9, $10, $11 million a year, something like that. Maybe Daniel Jones money, maybe up to like 12, 13, but I don't know. Both these options are so bad that I would truly be looking at like any other like bridge backup quarterback. But I will say Aaron Rodgers, I think the one team he adds value to, not even of just these two teams, but like any of the teams, is probably the Steelers. Like I think comparatively to, I guess Kirk Cousins is the other trade name that you could possibly think of. But like just behind that offensive line, I don't trust Kirk at all, but I do trust Rodgers to duck it down, quick check down, all that stuff. So I would say currently Rodgers to the Steelers, and then Wilson probably goes to the Giants, but who knows if that actually happens.
I hope it doesn't. As a Giants fan, I really don't want Russell Wilson. There's no way that I could sit here and say, New York Giants country, let's ride. I cannot do that with Russell Wilson as my quarterback. I refuse. I do think Rodgers is the right move for the Giants, but I think Rodgers is the right move for both teams. I think both teams know that there's one quarterback who's still significantly better than the other quarterback. Russell Wilson is a statue now. He can't move. What made him good was he was elusive back in the day for the Seahawks. He could escape the pressure, get out of the pocket a bit, and launch some deep balls to his stud fast receivers. It doesn't really work anymore for his game. And I do think that Rodgers, like I said, is the better option for the New York Giants. But I think the best option for him is clearly the Steelers. However, as you said, Mike Tomlin would be in for a rough year if he had to deal with George Pickens, DK Metcalf, and Aaron Rodgers also. How are they going to decide who gets number 14? That's the big thing I want to know right now in Pittsburgh. Both receivers are number 14. Idea, 40-yard dash, fastest time gets to keep it. They're both speedsters. Who knows? I'm down for that. But I do think that the best place for Rodgers would be with Pittsburgh. But I don't think he's going to end up there. I really don't. I don't think that Tomlin wants all that drama in Pittsburgh. And all the reports today seem like the Giants are back in the lead. It seems like every day it's flipping. Yesterday, it seemed like the Steelers were back in the lead. This morning, all reports are that the Giants are back in the lead for Rodgers. JD, we have to go over to you. As Aaron Rodgers' biggest fan in history, I'm just kidding. Where do you think he's going to go? And not even where do you think he's going to go. What do you think the better place is for Rodgers?
I was about to say here, man, as far as the Steelers goes, over the past year, we've talked a lot about them. I have talked a lot about them. Everybody thinks that I hate them. They are my most disliked team, and I have nothing actually against them whatsoever. I just had reasons during the season that they were like overrated, and I was just letting that be actually known. But no, I think as far as for Rodgers, the Steelers would actually be the actual better place.
We know David's take. David is not an Aaron Rodgers guy.
Apparently. I think that for him, just as one as actually having the actual like better team. And as far as Steelers, like I would like to see them actually do something. Like actually like make a run, actually to like try to make a real run. And actually like that's like, and they have a few steps to do that, but that's their next step there is actually getting somebody like that. But as far as the Giants, I could see him going there too, just for the fact that he is already set up, there.
Yeah.
He has a house. As far as the Jets, that could be a big like, fuck you,
I think that's a big part of it. I think that's a big part of it, knowing his persona and his personality. He wants to shove it to the Jets. I agree with you.
So that's one of those things where like I could really see him going to like either place, but the Steelers is definitely where I would rather see him go there.
Can I ask
I
Alpha?
disagree, but I understand why. Sure.
As a Giants fan, you just said a minute ago, I think Rodgers probably who you'd want right here. What does your ideal season look like then, as like at this year? Because that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, where does Rodgers get you to your idea? Like, I know there's not any great options, but like, I'm just curious, what does the ideal year for the Giants look like?
So here's my thinking. The Giants are a sinking ship right now with the regime. I don't think Joe Shane and Brian Dable survive this year, no matter what. So I don't want the Giants to take a quarterback in the first round. I do not want a rookie quarterback to go through this regime, and then next year we fire this regime and have another regime come in and say, that's not my guy. We're going to now draft another quarterback, because I do feel that the front of this draft is pretty loaded. The Giants are sitting at pick 3. We are guaranteed to have at least Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter on the board at pick 3. And I would love to get one of those two cornerstones on your team. I would love for the Giants to stop drafting out of need, start drafting out of the best available player, so we actually have some stars on our team that are really, really talented, because that's what the Giants do not do. They do not draft the best available player ever. Ever. All they do is draft out of need, and that screws the team. If you take a look at the Giants' first-round picks over the last 5 to 8 years, I think 2 or 3 of them are left on the roster. The others have been cut or traded or let go. So I don't want this regime picking the quarterback. I don't trust this regime finding the future franchise quarterback. I'd prefer the Giants got Aaron Rodgers, because I'm in the process of damage control. I already think this year is going to be a lost year for the Giants. I would like it so when the new regime comes in, that we don't trade up to pick number 1, that we don't give up 400 picks in the future, that we don't mortgage everything for this year, because the Giants regime are a desperate regime right now. The Giants owner, John Mara, said, you must win this year. The team must improve or you will be fired. So I just don't want them to put too much eggs in the basket this year, push cap down the line for the next couple years so we're in cap hell, and not be able to win either way. So I think getting a guy like Aaron Rodgers alleviates some of those issues. I think they're not as pressured to go out there and get a quarterback and trade up and do all that. So that's the main reason I wanted him. If you could probably imagine, I was on the Stafford trade before that. I really wanted the Giants to trade for Matthew Stafford for the same reason. I just don't want to see the Giants mortgage their future for a guy like Shadur Sanders, for stuff like that. I just don't think that's worth doing, instead of taking a guy like Abdul Carter. Do I think the Giants could win next year? I think they could be a 500 team. I think their defense improved substantially, signing Debo yesterday, as well as signing Holland this morning. So they added some big defensive pieces, and I think they will get better, but I still don't think they're a playoff team. They're going to be in one of the toughest divisions in football, and I don't think there's any way the Giants could be better than Dallas, Washington, or Philly. I think no matter what, the Giants will be the worst team in the NFC East. What do you think the Giants should do? You have a very good idea of the football landscape. What do you think the best approach for the Giants would be? Sign, I know you said maybe a guy like Mariota, but do you think they should let this regime draft a quarterback? Do you think they should move up for Cam Ward in the draft from 3 to 1? What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I really liked your answer about the GM and coach being fired and not wanting to put a quarterback through that. Washington, I think, drafted 6 quarterbacks in 7 years. So I definitely experienced that before a new coach comes in. Oh, we don't like this guy anymore. Okay, what are we doing then? And that's how you can start with like Sam Howell starting for a year and random stuff like that. So I do agree. My thing would be, and I think you make a good point, I would get one of the blue chip guys, probably not a quarterback at that 3 pick. I'm curious though, my opinion with Shadur Sanders is the way he's being mocked right now is fully based off of name value. I think his most likely range, if I were to set a prop for where he's drafted, I would set like 22.5 over under. So I'd be way off where a lot of the mock drafts are right now. If I were the Giants, I don't know what your picks are looking like. If you can swing back in that 25 to 28 and grab Sanders, I would 100% do that. Because at 3, I don't like Sanders at all. At 28, at 25, I'm suddenly back in. And I actually think it's pretty comparable to Cam Gordon. I think the gap that's being drawn right now is a little bit exaggerated. I just think the public still isn't on the same page yet as the GMs. I think we'll start to see this as we get closer to draft time. So I would like that. I saw someone in the chat mention Jameis Winston. I wouldn't hate that as well. If I were you, my thing is maybe it's just because I'm a fan of so many tanking teams over the years. I would commit to the bit. I wouldn't go for Rodgers, just like I wouldn't go for Stafford. I love Stafford. If I said I went to the Giants, I'd be so sad. I'd be like, what are you doing? Like you have Super Bowl winning potential, and you're gonna go play for the Giants for the next couple of years. Like if I were you guys, I'd commit to the bit. We're gonna suck this year. Let's get someone that sucks, and let's suck, and we'll get a great pick. And then we'll draft someone great. We'll fire all these guys and get someone great next year. That would probably be the goal. But I know that's not fun. Fans don't really want to hear that.
Well, the fans want that. I'm going to be honest. That's what we want to happen. Most Giants fans want that to happen. The Giants want to tank this year and get the next Manning. We're the franchise that had the last Manning. So most Giants fans are on that wavelength. But when you bring back a coach and a GM that you're told must win now, you must show improvements and you must get the quarterback of the future, it's just not possible. I wanted the Giants to fire Joe Schoen and Brian Dable, bring in a new regime, and fully rebuild. Because right now what we're doing is what the Titans did last year. And where did that end up with the Titans? Fired the regime, and they're at the first pick in the draft. The same thing a year later. Giants are going to do the same thing. So I would prefer that we did that. I would prefer that the Giants do it the right way and rebuild correctly, but it's not going to happen. We've seen what they've done in free agency. You don't sign a guy like Javon Holland, to a $51 million deal. You don't make all these deals with these guys that they've been going out and getting if you're planning on tanking and rebuilding the right way. So have to kind of accept that they're going to be going for it. They're going to be trying to win this year, because if I was the GM and the coach, I'd do the same thing. You're told you have to do this or your job's fired. What are you going to do? Everything in your power to win and not get fired. So for me, I wish that plan would happen. I wish the Giants would sign a Jameis Winston, lose every single game, and get the top pick in the draft in a heavy quarterback class next year. I just don't see it happening. JD, what do you think the best outcome would be for the Giants at quarterback in 2025?
For the Giants quarterback 2025.
I know as a Cowboys fan and a Washington fan in here, you guys both must love mocking who's going to be the quarterback for the Giants in 2025, but here we are.
I mean, the more that we sit here and the more I actually listen to y'all, Rodgers really doesn't make sense. To actually me, actually that's what I got from actually like hearing y'all. To me, like Rodgers just doesn't really make much sense. I mean, as far as to get them through another year to help them build Jameis, I mean, that kind of does make sense. I am a big Jameis Winston guy, like actually like as a guy, like not so much as an actual football player.
I get that.
You know, because like actually like what actually like your actually interception prop is at minus 225 to throw an interception.
Yeah,
that's not really somebody that you really want. But just signing somebody like that to where you don't have to spend much definitely to me makes sense. And then you can see like as far as like drafting somebody, I know that we've talked about, you know, they don't like do much with the draft picks and all that, but still, I think that could be a way to actually like go about that though. But yeah,
breaking news: Miles Sanders released.
Miles Sanders released.
I don't think he has much value in those legs anymore, but the Panthers have released Miles Sanders.
But guys, there's something that I want to bring up, and it kind of has all just kind of happened, so I haven't had a lot of time to really like think about it. But what are the Eagles doing? Like they're just letting their defense just go.
Great topic to bring up next. Great topic.
I mean, like I said, I haven't had a time to really actually like dig into it yet. But do either of y'all like have any clue like what you think their plan is there?
I have thoughts about everything they're doing. Give me 1 second here because I am pulling up the tweet from Schefter and I have it right now. So the Eagles defense alone has lost Josh Sweat to Arizona, Milton Williams to New England, Isaiah Rodgers to Minnesota, Darius Slay and James Bradbury were both cut, and they just traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson to Houston. So Monotone, I'll kick it over to you now that we've gone over all of that. What do you think the Eagles are doing? And do you think this is just what's the phrase I'm looking for here? You just won the Super Bowl. Your minor pieces are going to go for a lot more than they're really worth. Do you think that's what's kind of going on here, Monotone?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't throw all of it to that, but when you win, there are consequences. When you beat everyone's ass all year, there are consequences. You're not going to be able to keep everybody, right? And these guys run such a big rotation on defense. There's so many guys, a lot of veterans as well, that like Milton Williams got paid so much money for a guy that nobody
Way too much money.
Like nobody had even heard of this guy before the season started. Like truly. And it's impressive what he's done. And like to have that kind of come up in just one season. But for like and he was good too. Don't get me wrong. But like with how much they rotated him and Sweat with the veterans and stuff out there, like, man, like it's hard for me to. I think they made their choice early when they signed Zach Bond to that big deal. I think it was kind of clear that that's who they're going to keep, because you can't dedicate that kind of money to everybody. And so you look around, then he gets that, and then Saquon gets his deal. You go, okay, now they definitely can't pay the rest of these guys. So it's kind of up to the market dynamics at that point. And with how the market is right now and the cap space and how people are spending, they had no shot at those D linemen, at Sweat and Milton, right? I don't even think they had a shot at those guys. So when you do look at who was like keepable, it would be like a Darius Slay. To me, I think it's always better to get ahead of the age curve than be behind the age curve with cornerbacks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's on a dime. Like these guys, and the prime is really short for a cornerback. And you have two rookies last year that are going to be going into their prime. It's hard to hate on them for losing. I mean, Bradbury didn't even play at all, but Slay, he was good last year.
Funny they put him on that sheet, by the way. So funny they put Bradbury. That was just to fill up a spot because he got hurt in preseason and never played a snap. But they had to throw him in there, though.
Right. And by the way, he was healthy week 7, and they were like, no, we don't need him. We don't need him. Like he was he could have played the whole second half of the season, but he's past his prime as well. So I don't know. For me, I hate the Eagles. I do wish that this was like a killing blow to them and that they were going to look terrible this year. But I don't really think that's the case. I think they can replace. They do need to do some work on the D line, but also they have the benefit of having the best GM in football. I mean, let's be honest. If Howie Roseman called me, hang up. I'm never picking up the phone with that guy. It amazes me that people trade with him. Although, shout out. I hope you guys enjoyed Jahan Dotson this year. We did actually. Washington's 1-0, baby. We got you with one because that guy fucking blows, and we got a 4th-round pick. So that's all I got to say. But otherwise, Howie, he'll get somebody for like really cheap, and everyone's going to be mad.
Yeah, and I just had it here, and of course I lost the tweet that I was on. No, I had the wrong tab. I have it right here. The Eagles still have these players on defense. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Zach Bond, Kenyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, and they still have defensive coordinator Vicky Fangio. So, they're still going to be fine. They still have a ton of talent. They'll be able to replace a lot of these guys. Somehow, in the draft, the Eagles will probably trade up to a top 10 pick and take someone who shouldn't fall, like a Jalen Carter, and he'll be amazing because that's just what the Eagles do. If you have to question anybody in football right now, Howie Rose is not one. Howie Roseman is not a guy you want to question because this guy's the best GM in all sports. Not in football, not in a few sports. In every single sport, he is by far the best GM. You take a look at the Eagles' contract situation going forward. Their most expensive player against the cap next year is Jalen Hurts at $20 million. I think the Giants have 10 players that are more expensive than that against the cap and that are all terrible. So Howie Roseman does a fantastic job, especially with his contracts, the way he makes them all kind of work against the cap. You take a look at Saquon. I believe he has a $7 million cap hit. $7 million cap hit. So what he does is fantastic. He will be able to get some other bodies in there. And watch out for him in the draft because all these guys that you see that are still on the team are guys they've drafted and homegrown guys. Kenyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. These are guys that either fell in the draft, they took in the second round, things that they did to get value in the draft. And that's what he does better than anyone else as well. So I fully expect them to replenish the team. And unfortunately for you and I, Monotone, we're not done seeing the Eagles quite yet. I do think they're going to be the next dynasty in the NFL, unfortunately. I think they're going to go on a Chiefs-like run over the next 5 years because they're so young. Their contracts are so good. They can add so many pieces still. And I don't think we're going to see the Eagles fall from the top of the NFC in quite some time. JD, what do you think?
Yeah, like I was going to come back around to the point actually like y'all like actually made was I see some people on actually line that are kind of like saying like what the hell's going on and kind of like freaking out. But actually like and actually that's why I was coming back around to it, the point where I don't think it really is that big of a deal.
I agree 1,000%.
And this like Eagles team actually like we actually talked about it all like season long of how good they actually were. And actually, like about that Super Bowl line, about how that line was just so far off. But yeah, and actually, like you said, I definitely agree. The Eagles are going to be good for the next few years, and I mean, top team good. So yeah,
I think so as well. I think they have a legitimate chance to be the next version of the Kansas City Chiefs that we've seen over the last couple of years. I think they're so young, they're so deep, and I think they have. Remember when people last year were saying Nick Sirianni should be fired? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
The guy's a fantastic coach. He's super unlikable. What do you think? Let's hear what you have to think.
I was one of those
Were
guys.
you?
I think
do you still feel that way?
In recent history, I think there are teams that have won rings in spite of their coaches. I think one, the Nationals with my guy Davey Martinez. I think that's an absolutely great example. Two, Mike Budenholzer and the Bucks with Giannis that year. I think he was a detriment rather than so like it can happen. And this is not a popular argument. I'm still not Sirianni. I think he's an okay coach. I think he's like average. And I think when you're a crazy guy and you're fired up, because that's the kind of coach I feel like I would be too. Like I'd be yelling at fans and like, I don't mind that kind of aspect of the game.
You like the passion. You like the passion.
Yeah, I do. But I think that covers up that I don't like. I think Fangio is more important. This is the take. Fangio is more important to that team than Sirianni is. If you had to pick between those two, I'm taking Fangio 10 out of 10 times. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. This could be a real dumb take. But I think personally for me, Sirianni, I think this team could win with and without Sirianni.
I could agree to that. I still think he's a better than average coach, and I think he does provide value to them, and I think he takes the brunt of a lot of the issues there, and I think that's important if you're a coach in a market like Philly, a market like New York, a market like LA, where the media is going to kill you all the time. No matter what you do, if you're in one of those markets, the media is going to be down your throat consistently, and someone needs to be the bad guy taking it, and I do think Sirianni does a good job of filling that role for them. Also, shout out Vic Fangio, East Stroudsburg University alumni, commencement speaker at my graduation. So, probably one of the only famous NFL people from my school. So, shout out Vic Fangio. Always been a big fan of rooting for him. Well, fellas, we've been on here for about 40 minutes, chopping it up about the NFL free agency. Any other free agents we want to talk about before we get the hell out of here? One thing I think we could talk about a little bit is going to be the Minnesota Vikings with all the signings they're doing. If you take a look at the top 10 free agents going into this free agency, kind of the consensus here is that Will Fries, Byron Murphy, and Jonathan Allen were three of the top 10 guys going into free agency. They got all three. Are the Vikings getting scary? Do you like what they're doing? Monotone, we'll start with you, and this will be our final topic. What do you think about the Vikings moves so far?
Yeah, I think they're pretty solid. I mean, they spend a lot of money. I don't know if each one. Either those. If you individually ask me, are either of these deals like steals or great deals or great value deals? Probably not. But I guess that's just the
Murphy got paid.
Right
Murphy got paid,
especially when you look at a guy like Reed who went to the Lions, and the guy only
for $18 million.
That was, by the way, arguably the best signing of the offseason so far. He's one of the best.
You didn't like a Debo. You didn't like a Debo. Come on.
Even I think Reed was. I actually don't think this is even a hot take. If you watch ball, I think Reed was a better corner than Sauce was last year, not the year before that, but last year.
100%.
And I think when you look at the Lions corner, Carlton Davis, that then got $60 million on the way back. He was legit not good last year. He was a guy that defenses were targeting. Like, I couldn't even understand those kind of deals. So that did put the Vikings deal in perspective a little bit, right? You go, oh, okay, that makes a little bit more sense because he was awesome. Like, Murph was awesome last year. So that's the deal I think I like the most out of them, even though the corner, it wasn't cheap. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely like what the Vikings are doing. And they have great coaching. So if you can just put in the talent and level it up, I think they're going to keep on improving.
What do you think do you think that possibly DJ Reed took a little bit of a smaller contract because of his size? He's only 5'9". So I do think that does hurt him because he does normally, Sauce would take the taller, more physical guy, and Reed would normally take the smaller receiver. So I do think he's a little bit limited in everything he could do, but I do agree with you. I think DJ Reed is a phenomenal football player. I do think his size, though, being at 5'9", does hurt him just a little bit. I do think that affected his market. I do think if, let's say, he was 5'11", he would have signed for significantly more money. It's tough when you're 5'9". He's a great football player, but when you have a receiver that's 6'2", 6'3", it's tough. It's tough for him to bat that ball down. JD, over to you. Final thoughts about the Vikings before we get the hell out of here today.
really, as far as the Vikings, I think Joe in the chat actually made a great point here. They're going out and they're spending actually like all of this, but I think they need to take that money and actually like sign an actual quarterback.
Rodgers?
Well, I'm not sure, but with what they have going on there now, I mean, no, like the Vikings don't actually like going forward with their roster currently. It's not a team I'm actually like afraid of or anything like that. Like,
I'm with that. Yeah. I do think they need a quarterback, but what are you going to do with JJ? You picked him, what 10th or 11th last year? I'm probably off by 1 or 2 picks, but I think it was 10th or 11th. You got to give him a shot. I mean, you used an early first-round pick, and before he got hurt last preseason, the talk was how great J.J. McCarthy looks. This guy's looking like the real deal. We got to see it. So I do think they have to still give him a chance. And with this quarterback market, who the hell are you going to get? And Joe, he can't do that. Joe, he can't do that. Aaron Rodgers can't go to Minnesota. He can't go from the Packers to the Jets to the Vikings. He can't be Brett Favre. That's what Brett Favre did. He can't be Brett Favre. I think Rodgers took Minnesota out of teams he'd be interested in because Favre did that. I genuinely believe there's no chance he can go there because he can't copy Favre's career path. He just can't. So, fellas, I think it's been a great show. It's been fun. We have just over 1,100 people here. We appreciate every single person tuning in. Any final words, Monotone, from you? When are you live on your show? Everyone, make sure you check out Stu at Monotone Football. He does some fantastic work with the show Past the Prop. Make sure you guys check that out. Monotone, when are you going to be live on your show? And where can they find you for your shows?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, year-round. We're going on like year 3 at this point to Pass the Prop with my guy, Player Prop Savant. He's a great baseball guy as well, a coach, and now we're going into baseball season. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, you can go check us out. Everything's over on Twitter at Monotone Football. That's where you can find all my stuff. I'm posting everything for free right now. And we're winning bets, and not a lot of people do that combination. So hopefully that sounds good to you. And yeah, I love talking football. I'll do it anytime. So I appreciate you guys having me on here. It's a blast.
We'll definitely have you back on very soon, bro. I know the NFL draft is right around the corner, so I know we're going to do multiple shows on the NFL draft. We absolutely have to have you on because I know you and we message every NFL draft about what we're betting, what we're taking, and we definitely have to come on here and give the people a little, what's the word I'm looking for? A look at what we're talking about anyway, get the full circle view of what we're talking about. So we really appreciate you making the time and coming on. And like I said, guys, make sure you check out Monotone at Monotone Football. As you just heard, he's giving out everything for free. He's putting out some fantastic content. So, guys, you have to give him a follow. JD, any parting words from you before we get the hell out of here today?
You know, for us, this was a different type of show. Without without giving out a single pick. It is like kind of weird. So I just have to give out something here.
Okay. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Preseason baseball. Dodgers run line. Baseball, guys, we are so close. But no, seriously, today, I believe they play today at 4:00. Dodgers run line. I definitely really like that play. And also we will be having our actual other show to actually day at 5:00. So we'll be breaking down all the games there. So definitely join us then.
I will be tuning into that show, JD. Looking forward to you and Joe killing it, as you guys always do. Yet again, Monotone, we appreciate you, brother. We'll definitely have you on soon. And everybody, let's cash. JD, we can't end the show until you do the thing. I know we didn't give any bets, but you still got to do the thing.
Let's fucking win.
Let's fucking win. We appreciate all you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Peace. Let's get Roger.